So here we are on the Anchorage Press Podcast. Presscast, all that.
I like Presscast.
All right. Anyway, we're here with JackTobin. You might know him from the Anchorage Press. JackTobin writes some very creative, very incisive writing he does, especially from the streets, and some creative use of punctuation and capitalization, which isn't always...
If you want to call it that. I just don't know what I'm doing, actually.
Where did you get your writing style from?
I think it's just my speaking style. I was on the radio for a number of years, and I would tell stories on the air, and I figure I'm doing the same thing, more or less. You know, you hear the Wall Street report, how the Dow Jones is doing? That doesn't affect anybody's life. The gains made in Wall Street affect a very few number of people in the United States, and yet we hear it every day on the radio, every single day at 5 o'clock. And if you open up a newspaper, they'll tell you about what's happening down at City Hall and the Assembly. They'll tell you what the votes were and what the new issues are. But what they don't tell you is what's actually happening in the city. I wake up and I leave my house and it doesn't look like the TV.
And you live in Fairview?
Yeah, it doesn't read like the newspaper. I'm not saying that newspapers don't print the truth, because of course they do, but it's facts. And that's not necessarily the truth of what's actually happening out there.
It's an interesting correlation between the two. I mean, newspapers do write for advertisers, at least the ones that stay in business do.
Well, to continue the Wall Street analogy, yes, it's true that the last few years Wall Street's seen significant gains and they've reported record profits. But that doesn't reflect what I see going on in our country. I don't know a whole lot of people who are broke. I don't know a whole lot of people who aren't giving most of their income to healthcare. So, yeah, thanks for the info about Wall Street, but I don't see how it affects my life.
What keeps people in Anchorage if they're not making a lot of money? Because, I mean, you know, a lot of the appeal of Alaska was you come up here, if you didn't have a lot of education, make a lot of money. And that seems like those days are gone. What keeps people in Anchorage, places like Fairview, Mountain View?
I don't think that that's gone in Alaska. I do think that there's been more of a shift towards how things work down south. At this point, I think a lot of people are staying in Alaska because they can't afford to leave. And that sounds insane, but I have many, many, many friends who, coming by the amount of money needed just to fly down to 48, it's basically impossible for them. They're not going to Oregon. So forget about moving there. So I think a lot of them are trapped here. Also, I think a lot of people came up here for a lot of ideological reasons, from, you know, they're environmentalists to they want to start their own right-wing militia. All kinds of reasons that if they go back to the lower 48, things haven't changed down there. It's only gotten harder, you know. And the last thing, I think a lot of people come up here because Alaska's so sparse, they believe, whether it's true or not, I don't think that's relevant. They believe that this is a place that's being formed. This is a birth of a society. And they think that if they come here, they can like get in on the ground level or something.
So they're like ingenues arriving in Hollywood.
Yeah, they have a, you know, okay, let me put it this way. I'm a musician. And when I was in New York City or Boston, there was 500 bands that were better than me within 50 feet every day in my life. And I think a lot of musicians come up here because they think there's not going to be much competition. They're right, but there just aren't a lot of gigs. So.
Yeah, and you're in a band?
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Heretic Foundation.
The Heretic Foundation. All right. So where do you guys gig at?
Historically, we're kind of a hip-hop band, and we discuss a lot of politics. So even though, like, for example, the old Taproot, we're all friends with Rebecca and had been for years, but she wouldn't touch us, wouldn't book us. Nobody would book us. All the bigger clubs in town, Coots, stuff like that, they wouldn't touch us, right? So we started doing our own thing. One year at Forest Fair, we just started playing in the middle of town on the street. And after about half an hour, there were a few thousand people around us, and we disrupted the street. And the Discovery Channel showed up with the state police and all of that. So we ended up on TV. And then we did something similar up in Trapper Creek. And what had happened was we started drawing a lot of attention to ourselves because we were kind of considered, I don't know, people said we were radicals. I just thought we were
So
doing
you're radical hip-hop? These are all, give me a little idea of your sound. What kind of, what Pandora station would
probably Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
It's got guitars and it's got an angry white rapper.
Are you the angry white rapper?
No, I'm not, believe it or not. There's a guy who's angrier than me.
So what do you play?
I'm the saxophone player in that band, but I've actually played every instrument in that band at one time or another. We're playing not in a couple of days. What's today?
Is it 18th?
Right, so we're playing the 27th at Coots at like 9 p.m. for half an hour.
Right on.
It's a weird gig, half an hour, but that's what
It's a Coots gig.
Yeah,
So how long have you been in Alaska?
10 years now.
What brought you up?
I had been on tour for 9 years previous to that. And when I got off tour, I went back to Boston and kind of just wasn't into the whole uptight Yankee thing anymore. And I had been to every state in the Union 3 times, and I just thought, what place did I like best? So I came back to Alaska. It was that easy a choice for me. If you hadn't been living anywhere for a long time, the idea of moving somewhere is not a big deal. It's not like you're uprooting your life. I didn't have an apartment.
Yeah.
Possessions.
So you're gonna stick it out here? You in for the long haul with Alaska?
I think so. I'm kind of broke. We're all kind of broke, and sometimes you have to make decisions. But if I can pull it off, I'm not leaving Fairview. I don't want to. In 10 years, I'd like to look at some little kid and go, this town used to be so bad. There were junkies on the corner and drunks sleeping in front of your house and blah, blah, blah. And the kid says, well, what happened? And I want to say, I did. That would be wonderful. So yeah, I want to stick with it.
All right, well, you've been an incredible asset since you've come on board with the Anchorage Press in about the last month. A really refreshing style of writing. We need that creativity. Can never get enough of that. So do check out Jack Tobin Writes by Jack Tobin in the Anchorage Press on newsstands all around town and at anchoragepress.com. Jack, thanks for coming by. Any last words?
No, you'll be hearing from me. It won't be the last words.
All right. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of let me get this right, the Pod People Press Cast, presented by the Anchorage Press.
This is Jack Tobin, and you are listening to the Anchorage Press Pod People Press Cast. Say that 5 times fast.
Pod People Press Cast. Pod People Press Cast. Pod People Press Cast.
Pod People Press Cast.
We got it.